As we prepare to spring forward this Sunday with the start of daylight saving time, some sleep experts are again calling for an end to these seasonal time changes. Research suggests daylight saving time can be dangerous and have serious effects on health and safety, leading to increased risk of car accidents, heart attacks, strokes, and mood disturbances. The American Academy of Sleep Medicine is advocating for year-round standard time. Doctors say when we're exposed to less light in the morning, it makes it more difficult for us to wake up, and more light in the evening makes it more difficult to fall asleep, though frankly, most people prefer the opposite. Losing an hour this weekend also renews concerns for parents who are already worried about how much sleep their kids get. New research shows more than 18% of kids aged 5 to 9 are routinely being given melatonin by their parents to help them go to bed. More than 19% of adolescents take it as well. Health experts say melatonin is a hormone, so you want to be careful, especially with kids who are not yet adolescents.
Melatonin is not FDA regulated, which means that the rigorous clinical trials that we need for drugs that are FDA approved just haven't been done for melatonin. I would really be cautious about using it in somebody who has not gone through puberty yet, and use it even in teens on a very occasional basis.
The American Academy of Pediatrics urges parents to discuss sleep issues with your child's pediatrician before trying melatonin. After the break, Russ is back in with one more look at your forecast, and when we warm up a bit, there's also some other stuff to discuss here as well.